Hello everyone and welcome back to Coffee Hammer. Today we are visiting the grim and bone-strewn landscape of Spearhead, Sand and Bone. If you're a fan of Spearhead, you've probably been as hyped as I was for this one, but did it deliver? Let's talk about my experiences with the new board, the intriguing new battle tactic cards, and whether this gaming pack truly is death-defying as Gravesand. The Sand and Bone gaming pack throws us into the bleak realm of death, Shyish. In the box you get a small supplementary booklet, a double-sided gaming board, a selection of themed terrain pieces, which you might recognise from Warcry Crypt of Blood, but they fit perfectly at home here, and crucially new battle tactics and twist cards, designed specifically for the desolate battlegrounds. I think it is important to clarify that Sand and Bone gaming pack is a standalone game. Although it has been described as an expansion, myself included, you do not need Fire and Jade Spearhead box in order to play Sand and Bone. So if you want to battle it out in Akshi or Garan, you can use the Fire and Jade board, terrain and cards, but if you want to shake things up, you can step through a round gate into Shyish. The gaming board is different with terrain, battle tactics and twists that are made for this board specifically, so no swapping cards between boards. Let's talk about the double-sided gaming board. With a new battlefield comes new objectives. Instead of the objectives named after mythical god beasts, the objectives are named after the Mortarks of Nagash. Objectives have also shifted around a bit on Ossia and Dolorum. When fighting on Ossia, there are 4 smaller objectives, 2 in the middle and 2 on the outer edges of the board. And if you're playing with a diagonal deployment, the objectives are spaced out in a way that no one controls any of the objectives at the start of the game, giving the attacker a huge advantage when going first. On Dolorum, the 4 smaller objectives are equally spaced out from each other on the outer edges, with the larger Mortark of Grief objective in the centre. Similar to Ossia Battlefield, because deploying your army 6 inches away from the enemy territory, regardless if the deployment maps are horizontal or diagonal, no one controls the centre objective at the start of the battle. They did a great job on making the 2 battlefields feel distinct from each other. Having only 4 objectives on Ossia means that if you want to score 3 victory points for controlling objectives, you need to control 3 out of the 4 objectives, taking the objective in the opponent's territory. I think this is a good time to talk about the terrain features as well. You have your usual 2 small and 2 large terrain features, and this remains identical to Fire and Jade, but there are 2 unique terrain pieces, one for each type of battlefield. The Crypt of Blood is a large mystical terrain feature that is placed in the centre of the Ossia battlefield and has the Unholy Draft ability. Both players can use this ability. A once per turn army, any combat phase, you pick a friendly unit within 6 inches of this terrain feature to be the target. Then roll a dice, add 1 to the roll if you're the underdog, and if you roll a 4+, you add +1 to hit rolls for the target's combat attacks for the rest of the turn. Otherwise inflict D3 mortal damage on the target. This is a risky but rewarding ability. Getting +1 to hit on your big hammer unit can significantly swing combat in your favour, but at the same time failing that 4+ roll and suffering D3 mortal damage can totally wreck your unit. So do you drink the blood? For me and the people who played at our Spearhead event, yes you do. Not only is it fun, like spinning a wheel of fortune, but +1 to hit is a huge benefit and depending on the situation outweighs the negatives. Units that can return slain models like Death Rattle Skeletons or Clan Rats don't care about taking those D3 mortal damage because they can just return those slain models back. While monsters or heroes that can heal at the end of the turn don't suffer the D3 mortal damage too much. The 6-inch range of the terrain is also very generous. If you have multiple units within range, you can choose which unit to drink the blood. The other terrain piece is the Icon of New Lamia. This small mystical terrain is used on the Dolorum battlefield and does not start on the battlefield. It only comes into play when one of the Dolorum twist cards is drawn. So what does it do? Well, it has the Veiled Promises ability. That is, once per turn army, end of any turn. You pick a friendly unit within 6 inches of this terrain to be the target. Same again, you roll a dice, add 1 to the roll if you're the underdog. On a 4+, add 3 to the target's control scores for the rest of the turn. Otherwise, subtract 3 from the control score for the rest of the turn. This is a bit tricky to use as it can benefit certain units more than others. Single model units with relatively low control scores don't suffer the downside as much. A hero with a control score of 2 will just go down to 0, but a unit of 5 Liberators with a control of 5 will drop down to 2. The other situation when using this ability is when you're already losing control of an objective by fewer than 3 points. Rolling less than 4 won't do anything, but if you roll a 4+ and get that +3 to beat the enemy's control score, you can take control of that objective with no real downside. When you draw the twist card to place the terrain piece, the underdog is given priority to choose where on the battlefield to place the terrain, giving that player a huge advantage on subsequent turns. Overall, I love the 2 new realm battlefields. The objective placements are meaningful, both are very distinct from one another, and having 4 objectives on Ossia makes scoring more interesting. The 2 mystical terrains are very fun too, and it gives the battlefields the extra bit of identity, differentiating themselves from Fire and Jade. I've talked a bit about the 2 battlefields. Now what about the cards? I don't have much to say about the twists other than they're fine, and the underdog mechanic is still serviceable, but I feel there's room to improve that mechanic as it can be exploited by experienced players. Just like with Fire and Jade, both players are given a deck of 12 battle tactic cards that they can use to score victory points at the end of each of their turns. Some are quite easy to score, like Hold Ground, control the large terrain feature within friendly territory, or some are a bit harder, like requiring you to take control of 2 objectives that were controlled by opponent at the start of the turn. You still have the classic control a specific objective, like Dais of the Necropolis or Dais of Blood, but there are some that are fairly difficult to achieve or require certain positioning. Take Without Warning and Desolate Landscapes have double stipulations for scoring, or something like Raid needs you to have a unit deep within enemy territory. While the battle tactics have remained familiar in a way you need to score, the big changes is with the commands. While the command abilities in the Fire and Jade gaming pack are more similar to the command system used with the advanced rules, here in Sand and Bone, these command abilities are a bit crazier. One of my favorites is Final Breath, a command you use in your hero phase that lets you return a replacement unit with a combined health of 4, or even better, you can bring back your slain general or large health single model. This command works really well on models that can heal, like a Tree Lord in the Sylvaneth Spearhead or a Vampire Lord with the Soulblight Gravelords. Another really powerful command is Speed of Death. You use this at the end of any turn, pick a friendly unit in combat, and you remove it and set it up anywhere 6 inches from all enemy models. Very versatile movement command that reminds me of the Power Through command that is used in the advanced rules. You can use this command to save your important hero from combat, get onto an objective, or bring out your cavalry unit to set them up for a charge. It's used at the end of any turn, so you can use it at the end of your opponent's turn, so you can then move that unit in your turn. There are a few movement based command abilities as well, like Frantic Scramble, Determined Effort, and Countercharge. These are all really useful movement based commands, letting your units get into combat and around more reliably. While commands like Unleash Bloodlust and Grind Them Down are very aggressive combat abilities. Fighting twice or +1 attacks on your combat focus unit is a major level up. The ones I found were the weakest, but not necessarily bad, are Reform the Line and Terrifying Assault. Reform the Line is more situational, and it really benefit armies with units that have either a lot of health or a lot of models. Rolling a 5+ is trickier when you have a couple of slain liberators, but is very good on, say, something like a Seraphon Carnosaur. Terrifying Assault can help your unit take control of a contested objective, but rolling a d6 has a very high variance. You might roll a 1 or 2, which might not be big enough a difference you need. Translucent Flesh is a great command that I thought was trash at first. It goes hard against elite units that hit and wound on 3s. Making attacks hit and wound on 4s instead is effectively a -1 to hit and -1 to wound for those types of units. But because it goes hard against elite units, if you're up against armies that mostly hit and wound on 4s, this command won't be as effective. And finally, the most unusual command is Monument of Living Bone. You pick a terrain in your territory and you treat it as an objective. But it doesn't say for the rest of the turn or have any other stipulation, which means this passive effect persists for the rest of the battle. Unless they patch this in the next FAQ update, this command can really save your skin when you're behind on scoring objectives. Just remember that your opponent can also treat this terrain as an objective, so they can contest it and control it too. So what are the positives and negatives of Sand and Bone Gaming Pack? Well, it gives us Spearhead enthusiasts 2 new boards to play that feel unique and distinct from Fire and Jade. It's a big improvement on the objective placement and objective size, as well as the terrain features are quite fun to play with. It's also a standalone gaming pack, so you don't need the Fire and Jade gaming pack to play, but you might need to find the core rules on the Warcom website, because the booklet that comes in the gaming pack doesn't include the core rules. However, the set is very expensive. At £42.50, it is a very steep price range. It feels like if it was something between £30 to £35, that would have been a bit more attractive. If we compare it to the General's Handbook, which is the gaming supplement for players who want to play in the current season match play, that costs £36, which is already pretty expensive for being kind of the prerequisite for playing AOS. The gaming pack for Spearhead, which is supposed to be an entry point game system costing more than the gaming pack equivalent for full-scale AOS, just seems counterintuitive to me. Am I wrong for thinking that? But hey, this is GW we're talking about. The 24-page booklet is also very bare bones. You have a few pages on how to play the new set, which is fine, but it would have been nice to have the core rules included too, instead of the rules for 4 Spearhead armies that aren't even included in the box. I feel it was a missed opportunity to explore some of the lore of Ossia and Dolorum, and maybe a bit about how the realm of Shyish is like. Learning about the lore of the battlefields we're playing on, for me, helps with the immersion and narrative aspect of the games I play. Sand and Bone is a fantastic and very important update to the Spearhead game mode. I really enjoy the 2 new battlefields, and the names of the objectives are thematic and have more story behind them. The mystical terrains are a nice twist, and the new command abilities add more tactical nuance that veteran players can really appreciate. If you can overlook the expensive price or split the cost with a friend, the Sand and Bone set is a must buy. If you're a new player who wants to get into Spearhead with a friend, I would still recommend getting the Ultimate Starter set, as it includes 2 armies, the Fire and Jade gaming pack, as well as a chunky book that contains the core rules and the rules for all the Spearhead armies at release. And there we go, we have managed to traverse the realm of Shyish with our souls intact. What do you think of the new Sand and Bone gaming pack? Are you planning on picking it up, or are you going to stick with Fire and Jade? Tell me in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially if you tried out the new set. Subscribe if you haven't already, or Nagash will come to claim your soul. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!